In today's video, we ask if we can turn this into this using nothing but this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the great at-home whiskey aging experiment. Today, we introduce a spirit to the barrel. In my last video, I laid out my plan to find an unaged raw whiskey with which to age at home in the barrel that I received for Christmas. Now, my initial plan was to find a rye because I was putting first port wine in the barrel in the hopes that barrel aging it would, one, make it taste a little better, which it did, and two, lend a little bit of roundness, sweetness, fruit flavors to the whiskey. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks and I found out that unaged whiskey it's hard to come by. There's not a huge market for it, and so you kind of have to make do with what you have. What I was looking for originally was Buffalo Trace's White Dog Rye, which I unfortunately was not able to find. This is Skunk Brothers Spirits Moonshine Corn Whiskey. It's made with a 100% corn mash bill, meaning that it's all corn that has been fermented and distilled into a clear liquid. It's the foundation of corn whiskeys, which are not very popular necessarily. They're not a huge part of the market that's dominated mainly by bourbon and by rye in American whiskeys. But there's a lot of experimentation happening with corn whiskeys right now with these corn whiskeys, and by definition, a corn whiskey is one that's made with 80% or more corn in the mash. This one's 100% corn, and it's very cool because they're a small distillery located right here in Washington State, where I live, and they partner with local farmers. So all the corn that goes into their whiskey was grown in Washington as well, and I love that local flavor to it. I love that I'm supporting a small distillery and trying out something that's from my region. So it's really going to be a Pacific Northwest whiskey, whatever we end up with. So the first thing we did, of course, when we got it, was naturally to taste it. This is 100 proof, unaged corn whiskey. It's never been inside a barrel before. So it didn't have the notes that we associate with many whiskeys that come from the barrel aging process. So those notes of caramel, of the oak, the vanilla flavors, none of that was present. There was a lot of butter. There was hints of grass, of popcorn, and a little bit of a sweet note on the nose, but also quite a bit of burn because, again, this is 100 proof. The taste was similar. Not a lot of complexity, but for sure corn, like sweet corn flavors, buttery flavors, a little bit of grassy floral notes. And then after that, the overwhelming finish was that sort of metallic, that leaves that kind of coppery taste in your mouth, and a very dry finish, a very long finish, and not enormously pleasant. It had a lot of bite, which some people like, and it probably would make a really good mixer. A lot of distilleries, especially small distilleries, are putting out their unaged whiskeys into the market as a way to raise a little bit of money for the final product, because it takes, frankly, a long time to make a good whiskey, which is what we're going to find out exactly how long it takes. So I was really excited to find this. I thought it was really interesting, and I'm really excited to see how the flavors develop over time. So once we had the whiskey and we tasted it to see what our baseline was, we poured out the port, which only spent 10 days in the barrel, but it did come out a little bit more complex. It did have more oaky notes, a bit more balance to the sweetness, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised. What we're doing here is not exactly a port finish. First, they'll age it as they normally do in their own barrels, and then they will put it into a barrel that was previously used to age port wine. That's actual barrel finished, or port finished whiskey. This is not quite right because we poured it into we're using the same barrel for both, but I'm going into this experiment with two rules. The first one is use what you have. Not going to spend a lot of money on this. I'm not going to spend an inordinate amount of time making this product. This is an experiment, and it might go well and it might go poorly, but we're going to just use the resources we have at our disposal. We're going to use the whiskey we have access to. We're going to use the barrel that we have access to. And rule 2 is that rules are made to be broken. I am not a distiller. I am not bound by the rules of bourbon making, which has a lot of stipulations. We're gonna make something that's really unique. I don't think anyone's made a port finished corn whiskey, or at least I couldn't find one in my research. So this is gonna be like nothing that I've ever tasted, that maybe nothing anyone else has ever tasted. And I'm excited. I mean, that's the exciting part about experimentation, is you're gonna get something unique each time, and it's gonna be influenced by the whiskey itself, by the location. I've moved the barrel into the office upstairs. It's an unheated room in our house, and it has the most temperature variation over the course of the days in the season. So it's going to allow the barrel to expand and contract, to breathe a little bit, to force the whiskey into and out of the wood, to really exchange flavors. And I think that's going to really help a lot, because frankly, this whiskey is going to take a long time to age. I don't think this is something that's going to be done in a couple of months. I think this is going to take a couple of years, which, that's cool. I'm excited to taste it over time, to see how it matures, how it changes, and then eventually get to a product that we pour right back into this bottle and we enjoy. So here are my next steps. I'm going to let it age for a couple of weeks and then do another tasting, just to see how quickly things are changing. How is the whiskey evolving? Is it picking up color? Is it picking up flavor from the wood? Or is nothing happening at all? So my first attempt is going to be in a couple of weeks. And then after that, I think I'm going to keep extending the time out, probably a month at a time, maybe 2 months, to really give it some time to mature and to age and to just rest. The whole idea is we don't want to mess with the natural processes here. We want to let them play their course. We want to see what they do on their own. And in a year, or probably 2, I'm thinking at least 2 years, we'll see what the final product is like. So if you'd like to find out what that is with me, stick around. We'll be doing regular tastings and sharing notes along the way. And if you're trying this kind of experiment, you're at home yourself, I'd love to hear from you and see how it's going. We can compare notes. All right, until next time, cheers.